Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Qubit Educational Services. In this video, we are going to solve previous year's MCQs from MHTCET on this particular topic from Maths 1, that is pair of straight lines. Now before we start solving these MCQs, I want to tell you one thing. Some of these MCQs are very easy. Okay, in the sense that these such kind of MCQs are nowadays asked in the board examinations. Okay, and the category of very easy MCQs is that in such an MCQ you may either be asked something related to the sum of the slopes, product of the slopes, difference between the slopes, angle between any two lines, okay, or two given lines I should say, and so on. Okay, so these are very much doable MCQs within few seconds. Okay, so as and when difficult or moderate MCQs come, I will mention that these are not easy, and anyways you'll realize that when we see the solution. Okay, so without wasting any further time, we will go to the MCQs right away. Question number 1. The sum of slopes of lines 3x squared plus 5xy minus 2y squared equal to 0 is minus 5 by 3, 5 by 2, minus 5 by 2 and minus 2 by 3. Now this is a very simple MCQ as I was talking about earlier. This is based on the formula sum of the slopes of lines given by the joint equation, which is homogeneous equation this time, is minus 2h upon b. Okay, now that negative sign will come here because it is present in the formula. 2h is equal to 5. Yes, so numerator will be minus 5. And what about the denominator? The denominator is b, which is minus 2. Yes, okay, so the sum of the slopes will be minus 5 upon minus 2 or 5 by 2, and that is option B. Correct. See, now this problem is telling us that as long as the values of h and b are not changed, okay, no matter what value does a take, okay, whether it is 3, 4, 5, anything, okay, the sum of the slopes is always going to be minus 5 by 2 because it is simply independent of a. Okay, yes, so even if they had not given the particular value of a, okay, even then you would have gone for 5 by 2, which is option B. Question number 2. If the equation 4x squared plus hxy plus y squared equal to 0 represents coincident lines, then h is equal to 1, 2, 3 or 4. Okay, now because this is a homogeneous equation of second degree which represents coincident lines, it must be in the form ax plus by the whole square. Okay, because when two lines are coincident, they have the same equation. Okay, so when you find their joint equation, it must be the square of some binomial, okay, which is the LHS of the equation of the straight lines, provided the right hand side is 0. Okay, so what I have first done is I have gone to the terms containing x squared and y squared, which are 4x squared and y squared respectively, and I have found out their roots. Okay, so the root of 4x squared is 2x and the root of y squared is y. Of course we can also take the negative square root, but I'll come to that later. Okay, now what I did is I considered the binomial 2x plus y. Okay, so that 2x was obtained as the square root of 4x squared, and y is obtained by taking the square root of y squared, okay, the third term in the LHS. And if I now expand this 2x plus y bracket squared then it will give me a squared, so 4x squared plus 2ab, so 4xy plus b squared or y squared. And now you can see that if 2x plus y is 0, so will be 2x plus y bracket square, which means if we consider the line y equal to minus 2x, okay, twice, which will then give us two coincident lines, then their joint equation will be 4x squared plus 4xy plus y squared equal to 0. And if you compare this expression with the expression on the left hand side of the given equation, then it will give you h as 4, okay, and hence the correct option is D. Now if instead of taking positive y, had we taken the negative root, that is minus y, then we would have got h as minus 4, okay. In that case the lines would have been y equal to 2x, okay. Yes, but because the option minus 4 is not there in the given set of options, we should be happy with 4, okay. Now if you open your textbook, then you will find that the textbook also mentions the condition for lines to be perpendicular or parallel, but as two parallel lines can never pass through origin, the same condition becomes the condition for two coincident lines, okay. And that condition is h squared minus ab equal to 0 or h squared equal to ab. However, when they say h squared, here h is actually the coefficient of the term xy upon 2. Remember, in the standard form it is always 2hxy, okay. But here, to confuse you, they have not printed that 2 and they have just said h, okay. So in reality they are actually asking you to find the value of 2h, okay. So if you are to use this formula, don't take it as it is, that is h squared minus ab equal to 0, divide h by 2, okay, because in our situation, in the given problem, it is h by 2 which is playing the role of h, okay. So h by 2 squared equal to ab, when you shift this term to the RHS, or h squared becomes 4ab, yes, or h squared equals 4 into a is 4 and b is 1, so h squared equals 16, or h equals plus 4 or minus 4. Now I have not written minus 4 here because I did not see that in the options, but minus 4 is very well possible, okay. Now I will show you our result graphically, okay. Yes, so what I have done is I have plotted this equation 4x squared plus hxy plus y squared equal to 0, okay, with h being the parameter. So as I change h, you will see that we will get different lines, or I should say different pair of lines, okay. Now observe what happens if h starts decreasing, okay. Currently it is 6.5. now the moment it becomes closer to 4, the value of h that we have got, you'll see that the angle between them is decreasing, and we know that eventually when the lines coincide, the angle is going to be 0, okay. Now what do you expect when h takes the value, or any value between 4 and minus 4? The lines will be imaginary, okay. Yes, you can now see that h squared minus ab will be negative, so there is no possibility of lines. But the moment it becomes minus 4, again you see two coincident lines, okay. Yes, and if I decrease h further, then you can see the two lines emerging, and then the angle between them will keep on increasing until it becomes 90 degrees, okay. So our answer is correct. Now we had also pointed out that when h is equal to plus 4, the individual equations are y equal to minus 2x. So if I say that y is minus 2x, then this line actually coincides with our pair of lines, okay. Currently I'm not showing any line. Now let us show the joint or coincident lines, okay, and then let me bring in y equal to minus 2x, okay. So when h is equal to 4, that is the value given in the options, then both lines have the equation y equal to minus 2x. Now when h is minus 4, then it is not y equal to minus 2x but the line y equal to 2x. Okay, and now you can see that the green line has overlapped with our blue lines. See, that means whenever h lies between minus 4 and 4, the equation is going to represent imaginary lines. Okay, such questions can come in JEE, okay, or if even in CET, because according to them the difficulty level is at par with the JEE main. Okay, so they may even ask you this question: for what values of h does this equation represent imaginary lines? Okay, and that range will be open interval minus 4 to 4, and we know that if h is equal to minus 4 or 4, then coincident lines, and if h is greater than 4 or less than minus 4, then those lines are distinct, real and distinct. So that was question 2. Let's go to the next question, that is question 3. The angle between the lines represented by the equation 2x squared plus 3xy minus 5y squared equal to 0 is pi by 3, pi by 2, tan inverse of 12 by 5 and tan inverse of minus 7 upon 3. Now clearly a plus b is not equal to 0. Okay, 2 plus minus 5. So definitely option B is not right. Yes, and now we can apply the formula. Always check whether the lines are perpendicular, because that will save your time. Now tan theta is 2 root h squared minus ab upon a plus b. Yes, a plus b is minus 3. Now h is actually 3 by 2 because 2h is 3. So h must be equal to 3 by 2. So 2 root square of 3 by 2 minus a into b. So 2 into minus 5 upon minus 3. Okay. So it will be 2 by 3 because now anyways that negative sign is not going to play any role. We are taking the modulus. Okay, into root of 9 by 4 plus 10, minus 2 into minus 5 will be plus 10. Yes. And then you have to take the LCM. So that will be 49 upon 4. After taking the root you will get 7 by 2. Now 2 gets cancelled and you will get 7 by 3 as tan theta. Okay. Now there are 2 points that I want to tell you. Point number 1, the moment you see the prime number 7 appearing in the numerator, you have to pick D. Okay, because there is no chance that you will get 7 upon root 3 or something like that sort in your simplification process. So clearly A is not right, and same thing with C. Okay, if you have 7 already in the numerator and there is something in the denominator which is not equal to 5 nor a factor of 5, then C is also not possible. So clearly it is going to be D. Okay. The second point is, when we write this formula tan theta equal to mod of something, there we assume that theta is acute. Okay, but that need not always be the case, right? For example, if we show the lines, then if we are talking about this theta, then it is acute. But if we are talking about this angle, then it is obtuse. Yes. And from the property of allied angles, you know that tan of pi minus theta is minus tan theta, right? And that is why, although for the acute angle theta we have got 7 by 3, for the obtuse angle we will get minus 7 upon 3. Correct? Hence it is option D. Questions 4 and 5. Now I have combined them in a single question because both are identical. In question 4, the only difference is they are using the letters m and n for the parameters, and in question 5 they are using the letters p and q. Okay. Now I have solved question 5 because I wanted to use the letters m and n for slopes of the lines. Okay, so if the question 4 comes or the parameters m and n come, then you need to come up with 2 more letters for the slopes of the lines. Okay, but anyways, everything that we are going to do for question 5 will be applicable for question 4. So let's read 5 and see what we can do there. And yes, and this is by far the most difficult question in the entire set of questions on pair of straight lines. Okay, see, now it is the case because all you require to do is out of, I should say, the syllabus. Okay, and by out of the syllabus I don't mean you need to use the formula which is not there in the textbook. Okay, what I mean is you have to apply your brain, I should say. You have to think a bit. Okay, you have to ask the question what I want from what I have. You have to make use of the data correctly, and then only then you can solve the problem. So we have not used even a single formula from the 12th standard pair of straight lines. In fact, we have used a formula for angle between lines from the 11th standard. Okay, we'll come to that as we go to the solution. So if x squared minus 2pxy minus y squared equal to 0 and x squared minus 2qxy minus y squared equal to 0, bisect the angles between each other, then p plus q is 1, pq equal to 1, pq plus 1 equal to 0 or pq equal to minus 1, and option D is p squared plus pq plus q squared equal to 0. Now, point number 1, we have two homogeneous equations of second degree in x and y, and in both these equations a is equal to 1 and b is equal to minus 1. So this clearly tells us that a plus b is equal to 0, which means the lines are perpendicular. Okay, and more importantly, the problem says that they bisect the angles between each other, which means the following. If we draw the lines given by the p equation, clearly they will be perpendicular to each other. Yes, and now if we draw the lines given by the q equation, both of them will bisect these angles, right? And they will also be perpendicular to each other. See, this is suggesting that if you take any line from the q equation and any line from the p equation, then the angle between them will be 45. Okay, because the total is 360 degrees, and therefore 360 divided by 8 is 45. And then, given such a situation, you need to determine the relation between p and q. So we will now find that out. To do that, what I have done is I have assumed that the individual lines given by the p equation are y equal to mx and y equal to minus 1 upon mx, and the lines given by the q equation is y equal to nx and y equal to minus 1 upon nx. Now, why can I write the second line as y equal to minus 1 upon mx and y equal to minus 1 upon nx? Because we know that these lines are perpendicular to each other, meaning if you consider any single equation or any one equation, then those lines are perpendicular to each other. Okay, for example, in this figure you can see that the yellow lines are perpendicular to each other given by the p equation because a plus b is 0, and same applies to the green lines which are given by the q equation. And from 11th standard, recall that if two lines are perpendicular, then the product of their slopes is minus 1. Okay, so if one line is mx or its slope is m, the other line must have slope minus 1 upon m. Okay, and this starting point is extremely important. Okay, then next is the observation that we made, that if we take any line from the p equation and any line from the q equation, then the angle between them will be 45 degrees. Okay, so tan 45 is mod of m1 minus m2 upon 1 plus m1 m2, again a formula from the 11th standard. So here we are not using the tan theta formula from pair of straight lines, 2 root h squared minus ab upon a plus b, because we are not interested in finding the angle between the lines given by the joint equation. Okay, yes, so tan 45 is mod of m minus n upon 1 plus mn. Yes, and once you understand this, then rest is simplification. So tan 45 is 1, you know that. Next step is to square both the terms. So 1 squared will be 1, and bring 1 plus mn to the LHS. So you'll get the equation 1 plus mn bracket squared equal to m minus n bracket squared. Expand this by a minus b bracket squared, expand this by a plus b bracket squared. So you'll get m squared minus 2mn plus n squared equal to 1 plus 2mn plus m squared n squared. Okay. And from this, the next step is, I think, also important. So pay attention. What I have done is, I have shifted the term m squared n squared to the left hand side. So it will be negative. And I have shifted everything except m squared to the RHS. Okay. Now this minus 2mn when goes here will become plus 2mn, and 2 plus 2, 4mn. Okay. N squared will be minus n squared once you shift it to the other side. Now what this does is, this allows us to take m squared common from the LHS. So that will be m squared into 1 minus n squared. And you have to keep 4mn as it is on the right hand side. And you have to combine 1 and n squared. So in a bracket. Now observe that you have got 1 minus n squared into 1 on the left hand side. And 1 minus n squared into m squared on the left hand side. Okay, so potentially you can take 1 minus n squared or n squared minus 1 common. Yes, so it will be this m squared into 1 minus n squared. Now bring this term to the left hand side, so it will be minus 1 into 1 minus n squared, right? And now you can take m squared minus 1 in one bracket, 1 minus n squared in the second bracket. Okay. Now we'll take a break momentarily, because keep in mind that we are not interested in finding relations between m and n. Okay, we want a relation between p and q. Okay, so we'll come back to this, but from now on, but as of now, let's go back to the pair of straight lines formulas. Okay, now from the p equation, can we come up with the sum of the slopes? Yes, m and minus 1 upon m. So their sum will be minus 2h upon b. 2h is minus 2p, so minus 2h will be 2p, and b is minus 1. So m minus 1 upon m is minus 2p, which means m squared minus 1 upon m after taking the LCM will be minus 2p. Yes, and similarly we can get n squared minus 1 upon n equal to minus 2q from the q equation. Now you observe this. Did we get m squared minus 1 in our simplification process? Yes. And did we get n squared minus 1? Yes, we did. Okay. And on the right hand side, we still have 4mn there. Okay. So these two relations will now help us in eliminating m and n and getting p and q. Okay. So we'll now make use of them. Yes. Now pay attention. Having shifted having shifted 1 minus n squared to the left hand side and taking it common, we have got m squared minus 1 into 1 minus n squared, right, equal to 4mn. Now what I have done is I have multiplied this by minus 1. Okay, 1 minus n squared. So that will then become n squared minus 1. Yes, but because you have multiplied the left hand side by minus 1, the right hand side should also be multiplied by minus 1, so that will become minus 4mn. Okay, and then I have divided both sides by mn, so eventually we will get m squared minus 1 upon m as the first term into n squared minus 1 upon n equal to minus 4. Okay, so in this step I have done two things. First, I have multiplied both sides by minus 1, and then I have divided both sides by m into n. Okay, so the RHS became minus 4 and the LHS became m squared minus 1 upon m into n squared minus 1 upon n. And then you go back to these relations that we got. Okay, m squared minus 1 upon m can now be replaced by minus 2p. Yes. N squared minus 1 upon n can now be replaced by minus 2q. Yes. And then that gives us the relation between p and q. Minus 2 into minus 2, 4. That will cancel this 4. So you'll get pq as minus 1 or pq plus 1 equal to 0, and that is the option C. Right? pq plus 1 equal to 0 or pq equal to minus 1, and if we were to solve the question for, then that would be option D, mn plus 1 equal to 0 or mn equal to minus 1. Okay, now to verify our result, what I have done is I have plotted these two equations on a graph paper, and I have taken q as negative 1 upon p. Now let's see what we get now. So this is the equation x squared minus 2px minus y squared, and as you can see that the lines in the pink color, they are perpendicular no matter what value p takes. Okay, these lines will always be perpendicular to each other. All right, yes. Now let us bring in the other equation into play. Now in this equation I have taken x squared minus 2 into minus 1 upon p, so this minus 1 upon p is actually equal to q, xy minus y squared equal to 0. Okay, so let's now bring in both of them and observe that no matter what the value of p is, these lines are always going to be perpendicular to each other. Okay, yes. Okay, now to check whether this angle between the pink lines and the orange lines is indeed 45 degrees, let's take p to be as large as possible. Okay, so if we take p to be infinity, then q will be equal to 0. Yes. So if we do that, then those lines will be y equal to x and y equal to minus x. And if p is indeed infinity, if you divide the first equation by that, then you will get xy equal to 0, and that will be the joint equation of the coordinate axis. Right? Yes. So now you can see that x squared minus y squared is the joint equation of y equal to x and y equal to minus x, and xy equal to 0 is the joint equation of our coordinate axis. Okay, now for some reasons it is not showing the y-axis, it is only showing the, yeah, okay, now it will show both of them. Okay, x equal to 0 and y equal to 0. Okay, yes, so our answer is indeed correct. Question number 6. The circumcenter of the triangle formed by the lines xy plus 2x plus 2y plus 4 equal to 0 and x plus y plus 2 equal to 0 is origin minus 2 comma minus 2, minus 1 comma minus 1, and minus 1 comma minus 2. Okay, so in the very first step what I have done is I have considered the general equation of second degree given in the problem, and I found out that you can actually factorize this, the left hand side. So from the first two terms you can take x common, so it will be x into y plus 2, and from the next two terms you can take 2 common. So it will be 2 into I plus 2, which will then give you x plus 2 into I plus 2 equal to 0, which means you have now got two lines, x equal to minus 2 the vertical line, y equal to minus 2 the horizontal line. So it is now clear that this triangle is a right angle triangle because these lines are perpendicular to each other. And for a right angle triangle, the circumcenter is always the midpoint of the hypotenuse. You can prove it by the sine rule. Okay. Yes. So to find out the coordinates of the midpoint of the hypotenuse, we should first find out the coordinates of the vertices of the triangle. Well, one of them is now minus 2 comma minus 2, where these two lines intersect, but this will not be the part of hypotenuse. Why? Because at this point the triangle has its right angle, isn't it? So we need to determine the locations of these 2 points now. That is where these lines intersect the line x plus y plus 2 equal to 0, and that is what I have done in the second part. Part 1, part 2. Now it is very easy to solve the equations simultaneously. If we let x to be minus 2 here, then y will be 0. So the line x equal to minus 2 intersects x plus y plus 2 equal to 0 on x-axis at the point minus 2 comma 0. And if you consider, or if you let the line y equal to minus 2 intersect x plus y plus 2 equal to 0, you simply have to substitute y as minus 2, so that gives you x equal to 0, which means the line x plus y plus 2 equal to 0 intersects y equal to minus 2 on y-axis, okay, 0 comma minus 2. So having obtained the coordinates of the endpoints of the hypotenuse, which are minus 2 comma 0 and 0 comma minus 2, we can now use this fact that circumcenter of any right angle triangle is the midpoint of the hypotenuse. So you can use the midpoint formula to get the coordinates of the circumcenter, and those are minus 2 plus 0 upon 2, so minus 1. Same thing for y, y1 plus y2 upon 2, so the circumcenter is at minus 1 comma minus 1. Okay, let's now verify our result graphically. So in this figure, the blue line is x equal to minus 2, the orange line is y equal to minus 2, and as you can see they intersect at minus 2 comma minus 2. Now if you plot the line x plus y plus 2 equal to 0, the pink line, then it will give us the other two vertices of the right angle triangle, minus 2 comma 0 and 0 comma minus 2. And if you find the midpoint, it will be midpoint of the hypotenuse, then it will be minus 1 comma minus 1. Okay, this point in the third quadrant. Now what I have done is, to verify that this is indeed the circumcenter, I have obtained the distance between the points minus 1 comma minus 1 and minus 2 comma 0, and that distance, as you can see here, is 1.414, or that is root 2. Correct, that means the circumradius of the triangle is root 2. Now use the center radius form to get the equation of the circle. X minus h bracket squared plus y minus k bracket squared equal to radius squared, and you can see that it is indeed the circumcircle of the right angled triangle. Okay, so our answer is correct. They can also ask you to find the circumradius. Okay, and the circumradius is going to be root 2. Okay, now circumradius is actually easier to find, because once you know the endpoints of the hypotenuse, all you need to do is to find the distance between them and then just divide the distance by 2. Okay, because that will be the diameter and half of it will be the radius. And also note that the same circle is going to be the the same circle is going to act as the circle of the triangle formed by x plus y plus 2 equal to 0 and the coordinate axis, y equal to 0 and x equal to 0. Okay, yes, that was question 6. Let's go to question 7 now. Question number 7. The equation 12x squared plus 7xy plus ay squared plus 13x minus y plus 3 equal to 0 represents a pair of perpendicular lines. Then the value of a is 7 by 2 minus 19 minus 12 or 12. Okay, now you know this, that if the lines are perpendicular to each other, no matter whether they pass through origin or they do not pass, their general equation, okay, or the homogeneous equation will always have this condition, a plus b equal to 0, where a is the coefficient of x squared and b is the coefficient of y squared, isn't it? Yes. So if we apply that, that is 12 plus a equal to 0. In this case, a is 12 and b is a. That will give us a as minus 12. Okay, and then the correct option becomes C. Okay, now just out of curiosity, what I did is I plotted the curve given by 12x squared plus 7xy minus 12y squared plus 13x minus y plus 3 equal to 0. Okay, on a graph paper. And to my surprise, what I found out is this equation actually does not represent pair of straight lines at all. Okay, it gives you a hyperbola. So then the question was, for what value of a does this equation give or represent a pair of lines? Forget perpendicular, just lines. Okay, and to do that, I brought in our usual condition, AH, GH, BF, GFC equal to 0. Okay, and when I brought in this condition and solved the equation for a, okay, I found out that a is equal to minus 10. Okay, it means these numbers are not correct. Okay, the equation can never represent a pair of perpendicular lines for any value of a. Okay, in fact, whenever that determinant is 0, the value of a is minus 10, and if a is minus 10, then the condition a plus b equal to 0 does not hold, which is the condition for perpendicularity. Okay, so at the most this equation can represent a pair of lines, and for it to represent a pair of lines, a must be equal to minus 10. Okay, so there is some error in the coefficients, 3, minus 1, 13, 7 and 12. Okay, now let me show you that this is indeed true. Okay, so on your screen you can see the equation 12x squared plus 7xy plus ay squared plus 13x minus y plus 3 equal to 0, and currently the value of a is 5.4 and it is representing an ellipse. Now clearly this equation can never represent a circle, because for a circle the coefficient of xy should be 0. Okay, now just observe carefully what happens if I increase a. Okay, it just remains ellipse. Okay, now it would be interesting what happens if we just go on increasing the value of a. Eventually it will get converted to a parabola. Okay, well, not parabola, actually hyperbola. Alright, you can see the other branch of hyperbola here in the third quadrant. Okay, now let's go to the negative values now. See, now note that although it appears to be a pair of straight lines, it's not, because these two things are different. These are yet two different curves. Okay, or at least two different branches. Let's now go to minus 10. See, now something interesting happens at minus 10. Okay, at minus 10 the lines actually intersect each other. Okay, well, it actually represents a pair of straight lines, and if we take a as minus 12, then it's not actually representing a pair of straight lines. It is representing again a hyperbola. Okay, so my observation was right, that for value of a, for no other value of a except minus 10, does the equation represent a pair of straight lines. Forget about perpendicular lines. Now, if A is minus 10, does it represent a pair of perpendicular lines? It appears that it does, but it's not. Okay, this angle between these two lines is actually greater than 90 degrees, as you can see here. Okay, you can just get a feel that these lines are not perpendicular to each other. This angle is obtuse and this angle is acute. Okay, well, we can actually check it now. What I'll do is I'll just consider the first part. Okay, so what I've done is I've just shifted the origin to this point, and now what I will do is I will take the value of A as not minus 10 but minus 12. Okay, and you can now see that the angle that we are looking for is actually the angle between the orange lines, which are perpendicular to each other, and this cannot be definitely true for the blue lines. Okay, yes, you can see these gaps. Okay, if at all the angle were 45 degrees, these gaps should have been consistent or equal in, or I should say same in appearance, but they're not. This gap is slightly wider than this gap, which disproves that the angle between our lines when A is minus 10 is indeed 45. Oh, sorry, not 45, 90. Okay, yes. Let's now go to question number 8. A very simple question. Let's now go to question number 8. A very simple question. The joint equation of pair of lines through 3 comma minus 2 and parallel to the lines x squared minus 4xy plus 3y squared equal to 0 is, and we have 4 options. Now remember that whenever we are finding joint equation of pair of lines which are parallel to corresponding lines passing through origin, then this part remains the same. Okay, that 2gx plus 2fy plus c part comes later. Okay, but this part is same as that of the original equation. Okay, which means for the joint equation through 3 comma minus 2, we will still have A as 1, 2h as minus 4 and b as 3. And if you look at these options, then in options B, C and D, although A and B are correct, that is 1 and 3, h is or 2h is actually plus 4, and it is only option A that has 2h as minus 4, and hence it is option A. See, that means by just observing the options we actually solved the question. Okay, in other words, if the lines passing through origin are y equal to m1x and y equal to m2x, and if we want lines which are parallel to them but do not pass through origin, then their equations are y equal to m1x plus c1 and y equal to m2x plus c2. And if you now find their joint equation, okay, it is going to have this part as it is, m1x minus y into m2x minus y. That means if the lines are parallel, then their format is same, and by format I mean the coefficients of x squared, xy and y squared. Okay, now we will verify this graphically as usual. Okay, so first let's plot the homogeneous equation, that is x squared minus 4xy plus 3y squared. Okay, you can see the green lines on the screen. Yes. Now what I've done is I've actually found out the individual equations, which are x minus 3y equal to 0 and x minus y equal to 0. You can easily factorize them. And now what I've done is I've plotted option A. Okay, that is x squared plus 3y squared minus 4xy. So this was the only thing that we looked for. Okay, the value of 2h, which is minus 4. Minus 14x plus 24y plus 45 equal to 0, and you can see that these lines are parallel to the blue lines. Okay, and they intersect at the given point 3 comma minus 2. Okay, the green dot there. Yes. And I have actually also found out the individual equations of those lines. Okay, pass through 3 comma minus 2 or passing through 3 comma minus 2. Those equations are x minus 3y minus 9 equal to 0 and x minus y minus 5 equal to 0. Okay, so these are the pink lines given by the joint equation, and these are the individual lines now given by the orange equation. So both actually overlap each other, hence our answer is correct. Question 9. If the equation given by hxy plus 10x plus 6y plus 4 equal to 0 represents a pair of lines, then h is equal to. Now there are two ways to solve this problem. I will tell you both of them. In the first method, we will apply the condition, that is ah, gh, bf, gfc equal to 0. Okay, this one. Now while applying the first method, you should be careful that in our usual or standard notations, the coefficient of xy is 2h. Okay, and when you apply the determinant condition, then we take half of that. Okay, isn't it? That means we take h. But if you look at the problem, the coefficient of xy itself is h. So what we should write is actually h by 2, and I have assumed h by 2 as alpha. Even in one of our previous problems, instead of 2h they had given h, so please be careful. The rest of the part is very simple. A and b are zeros and the constant term is 4, and h is actually alpha now, so I have called it alpha, and g is 5, 2gx is 10x, and then 2fy is 6y, so f is 3. And if you just expand this determinant, you will get alpha as 15 by 2. Now fortunately 15 by 2 is not there in the options. Okay, so we know that we need to modify it, because our h, that is the h in the formula, is actually 15 by 2, so the h which they want must be 2 times that. Yes, so that is 15, and hence it is option A. Okay, now how to solve this problem without applying the determinant condition? To do that, we will look at the last two terms, 6y plus 4. Okay, now what term can be taken common from these two? We can take 2, right? So it will be 2 times 3y plus 2. Okay, now if we were to take something common from the first two terms of this equation, okay, and if we want the same factor to be considered as the common factor, that is 3y plus 2, okay, what should it be? 5x, because this is 10x. Okay, so if at all we want to take something common with 2 as, or 2 in the place of 10x, it should be 5x. Yes, but what is this now? 5x into 3y is 15xy. Yes, hence the required value of h is 15 without the determinant. So that is the second method. But all these things will come to you only when you solve a lot of problems, a lot of practice problems. Okay, so correct answer is option A. Now just by merely looking at the problem, you can actually guess the answer, right? That is h is equal to 15, and another thing is here a and b are equal to 0. So that is the other thing, and which definitely means that a plus b is equal to 0, which means the lines are perpendicular to each other. And you can see here the first line is going to be x equal to minus 2 by 5, so that will be parallel to y-axis. The other line is going to be y equal to minus 2 by 3. So clearly these lines are parallel to coordinate axis, hence perpendicular to each other. Question number 10. If theta is the angle between the lines ax squared plus 2hxy plus by squared equal to 0, then the angle between x squared plus 2xy sec theta plus y squared equal to 0 is theta, 2 theta, theta by 2 and 3 theta. Now this problem is based on two things. First is the angle between two lines if the joint equation is known. And the second thing is the identity 1 plus tan squared theta equal to sec squared theta, okay, which you study perhaps in the school trigonometry. Okay, so we will first write down the formula tan theta equal to mod of 2 root h squared minus ab upon a plus b, and now we will substitute the values of a, b and 2h from the second equation. Now don't forget that in the second equation 2h is not 2, 2h is 2 sec theta, so h is sec theta. So once you put these values in the equation for tan theta, now I have called that angle as phi because we are not yet sure whether it is equal to theta. Okay, so tan phi is equal to mod of 2 root sec squared theta minus 1, because if h is if 2h is 2 sec theta, h will be sec theta, and both a and b are equal to 1, so sec squared theta minus 1's root upon 2, a plus b, 1 plus 1. Okay, now 2 will get cancelled. Root of sec squared theta minus 1 is root of tan theta, and this is where we have used the identity. Okay, root of sec squared theta minus 1 is tan theta, or plus or minus tan theta, but if you take the mod it will be tan theta. So is tan phi equal to tan theta? Yes, which implies that theta is equal to phi. Correct. So what is the angle between those two lines? Theta itself. That is option A. Now what is this telling you? This is telling you that if we change the coefficient of xy, okay, from 2hxy to, well, if we change the term, the xy term, from 2hxy to 2 sec theta xy, if we change a to 1 and if we change b to 1, then the two new lines that we get will eventually be one and the same, or I should not say the lines, the angle between the two new lines that we are going to get will be same as the angle between the original lines. Okay, because this is true for all values of a, h and b. Okay, so you may write this or note down this particular thing as one of the ready-made results which may be useful to you in your multiple choice question examinations. Okay, so that was question 10. Question 11, a very simple problem. The angle between the lines x squared minus xy minus 6y squared minus 7x plus 31y minus 18 equal to 0 is, okay, pi by 4, pi by 6, pi by 2 and pi by 3. Now the first thing that you should do is you should add the coefficients of x squared and y squared and check whether it is 0. No, it is not 0. So clearly the lines are not perpendicular to each other, so C is not right. Okay, then you recall the fact that to determine the angle between the lines whose joint equation is not the homogeneous equation of second degree in x and y, we can still use the same formula that we use for the homogeneous one. Okay, that is 2 root h squared minus ab upon a plus b for tan theta. So I have used the same formula here, 2 into root of h squared minus ab. Now here h is minus 1 upon 2. Okay, a is equal to 1 and b is equal to negative 6 as we already observed. Okay, so the denominator will be a plus b or minus 5. Numerator is 2 root h squared minus ab. Now h squared is 1 by 4. Okay, ab is minus 6, but we have minus ab, so that will be plus 6. Now if you simplify the root, it will be root of 1 plus 24 upon 4 or root of 25 upon 4 or 5 by 2. 2 will get cancelled, 5 will get cancelled, so it will be mod of minus 1 or 1, and if tan theta is 1, theta must be 45 degrees or pi by 4, so option A. Okay, so a very simple problem based on the angle between two lines. Okay, now the other thing is, having already eliminated pi by 2, if at all the angle is pi by 6 or pi by 3, the term root 3 must appear in the simplification. Okay, so the moment you see a perfect square inside the square root, you have to mark pi by 4. Okay, because tan pi by 6 and tan pi by 3 both are irrational numbers. So if the root is a perfect, or the expression that appears inside the root is a perfect square, provided the outer things are rational numbers, it has to be pi by 4. Okay, so you can save time by not actually simplifying it further. The moment you observe that inside the root we have a perfect square, you have to mark that option which is not pi by 6 and pi by 3, and hence pi by 4. Question 12. The equation of the lines passing through origin and having slopes 3 and minus 1 upon 3x. A very simple MCQ. Okay, from the slopes you have to get the equations, and because these lines pass through origin, the constant term will be absent in their equations. Slope 3 equation y equal to 3x, slope minus 1 upon 3, the equation is y equal to minus 1 upon 3x. Okay, see, now by observing the slopes, particularly their product which is minus 1, you can eliminate option B, because a plus b should be equal to 0 for perpendicular lines, and for b a plus b is actually 6. Okay, so that is not right. So either a, c or d, and to get that we have to either multiply these equations to get the joint equation, or you have to check the sum of the slopes. Okay, so I'll explain you both the methods. First, let's find the equations, okay, in their required form. Okay, and that required form is, you must always have 0 on one side. So 3x equal to y will be 3x minus y equal to 0, and y equal to minus 1 upon 3x, or 3y equal to minus x will be x plus 3y equal to 0. If you now open these brackets, that is multiply each term by the other, you will get the equation 3x squared plus 8xy minus 3y squared equal to 0. That is option D. Okay, 3, 8 minus 3, 3, 8 minus 3. Now if you go to the sum approach, okay, then we have already rejected option B. Yes, so if you go to option A, the sum of the slopes is minus 2h upon b, or 8 upon 3. Okay, sorry, if you go to option A, then the sum of the slopes is, well, it's not 8 upon 3. Okay, what they have done is they have interchanged the positions of x squared and y squared. Okay, so here b is actually 3. So if you go to the sum of the slopes for option A, it is going to be minus 8 upon 3, which is not right. Okay, same thing with option B. Now the problem with C is, equation C can be obtained by multiplying equation D by minus 1. Okay, see, now here 3x squared and 8xy are negative. In option D, 3x squared and 8xy are positive. In option C, 3y squared is positive, and here 3y squared is negative. Okay, so C and D actually represent one and the same pair of straight lines. Okay, so in this question both the options C and D are correct. Okay, so that is question 12. Both the options are correct. Question number 13. If one of the lines of the pair ax squared plus 2hxy plus by squared equal to 0 bisects the angle between the positive direction of the axis, then a, b and h satisfy the relation. Okay, so suppose these are our x and y axis, and one of the lines bisects the angle between positive direction of the axis. Now positive direction means positive axis direction, that is towards right, and positive y direction, that is vertically upwards or towards north, which means the line must be y equal to x, because its inclination is 45 degrees. So we need to substitute y equal to x in the joint equation, right? And then we will get a x squared plus 2hx squared plus bx squared equal to 0, and you need to then drop x squared. So you will get a plus 2h plus b equal to 0, or a plus b equal to minus 2h. That is option B. Okay. See, now don't consider y equal to minus x, because although it is bisecting the angle between the axes, it's not bisecting the angle between positive direction of the axis. Okay, let me show it in the pink color. This is the line y equal to minus x. Now this also bisects the angle, but here it bisects the angle between a negative direction and a positive direction. Okay, so that is not what we want. But just in case if you want that, we can just get the condition. It will be a minus 2h, because y is minus x, plus b equal to 0. So here a plus b will be equal to 2h. Okay, yes. So for positive direction, a plus b should be minus 2h. For one positive and one negative, it will be a plus b equal to 2h. Okay, see, now both positive and both negative mean one and the same thing, because these are the negative directions and it's the same line y equal to x that is going to bisect the angle between the negative direction of the axis. Question 14. Now I'm not going to solve it because we have already done it. Okay, so this question had appeared in the CET thrice. Okay, x squared minus 2pxy minus y squared equal to 0 and x squared minus 2qxy minus y squared equal to 0. Each pair bisects the angle between the other pair. We know that PQ is equal to minus 1. Okay, that is option A. So let's directly go to question 15. Yes, question number 15. The joint equation of the lines passing through origin and trisecting the first quadrant is. Now what do we mean by trisecting a quadrant? Let's draw the figure. Okay, the angle which the first quadrant subtends at the origin is clearly 90 degrees. Okay, so we need to now draw two lines. Okay, let's show them, L1 and L2, so that the quadrant gets trisected, which means this angle will be equal to this angle will be equal to this angle, and because the total angle is 90, each angle will be 30 degrees. Okay, so angle between L1 and the x-axis is 30 and the angle between L2 and L1 is also 30. Now just by knowing their inclinations we can get their equations. Okay, so what will the equation of L1 be? Y equal to tan 30 into x, where 30 is the inclination. Yes. Now for L2 the inclination is 60 degrees. The total angle 30 plus 30. Okay, so y equal to 1 upon root 3x and y equal to root 3x will be the equations of L1 and L2. We want their joint equation. Okay, so first you have to rearrange them in such a way that one of the sides is 0. So for y equal to 1 upon root 3x, multiply both sides by root 3 and shift root 3y to the right hand side. That will give you x minus root 3y equal to 0, and for this it is very easy, root 3x minus y equal to 0, and then you have to multiply these two brackets. Okay, x into root 3x will be root 3x squared minus xy minus 3xy, because root 3 into root 3 is 3, plus root 3 y squared equal to 0. So that is root 3x squared plus root 3y squared minus 4xy equal to 0, option C. A very simple question, but you should first understand what trisecting the first quadrant means. Okay, so question 15, option C. Now let's go to question number 16. Now to solve 16, I have used the method of elimination of the options. The joint equation of bisectors of angles between the lines x equal to 5 and y equal to 3 is, and we have 4 options with us. Okay, in this figure you can see that the yellow lines are the coordinate axis and the green lines are x equal to 5, the vertical line, and y equal to 3, the horizontal line, which intersect at 5, 3. Now we don't want the joint equation of these two lines, mind you, which means we will not consider option A, because option A represents the lines themselves, and so does option D. Okay, if you just multiply x minus 5 by y minus 3, you will get option D. Okay, and if you go to option C, xy equal to 0, these are basically coordinate axes. This is the joint equation of the coordinate axes. So A, C and D are ruled out, so the option that remains is option B. Okay, so that is the equation of the bisectors, right? Now, just in case if that does not occur to you or appear to you, then what should you do? You notice that these lines are perpendicular to each other. Okay, and therefore if you are interested in knowing the equations of their bisectors, their slopes will be +1 and -1. Okay, because this is going to be the first line making an angle of 45 degrees with the horizontal, so its slope will be +1. And let me show the other line in the pink color. The second line is going to be this one, which will also bisect this pair or the angle between the pair. So this angle will be 135 degrees. Tan 135 is -1. Okay, so you already know the equations now. Y minus 3 equal to 1 into x minus 5, and y minus 3 equal to -1 into x minus 5. Okay, and if you find the joint equation of them, you will get option B. Okay, so question 16, option B. Now I have actually done that for you. We have two lines passing through 5, 3 with slopes +1 and -1. So their equations will be y minus 3 equal to 1 into x minus 5, or x minus 5 minus 2 equal to 0. And the other line is y minus 3 equal to -1 into x minus 5, or x plus y minus 8 equal to 0. And if you multiply the first bracket by the second, you will eventually get x squared minus y squared minus 10x plus 6y plus 16 equal to 0. That is option B. Question number 17. Which of the following equations does not represent a pair of lines? Now to solve this question, either you can identify the equations which represent a pair of lines, or you can identify that equation which does not represent a pair of straight lines. Okay, and I've identified that. If you go to C, it is y squared equal to x minus 1, and we know that it is a parabola, right? Y squared equal to x will be this one. Okay, now what we will do is to find out the location of y squared equal to x minus 1. If we take y to be 0, then x will be equal to 1. So the point where this parabola intersects the x-axis will be the point 1, 0. Okay, that is here. So this is as good as shifting y squared equal to x to its right. So it will be this parabola. Yes. So option C. Otherwise, you need to identify the equations which represent a pair of lines. If you go to option A and take x common, then it will be x into x minus 1 equal to 0, x equal to 0, x equal to 1. Both are lines. One is the y-axis itself and the other one is parallel to y-axis. Same thing with B. Take x common, y minus 1 equal to 0. So x equal to 0, the y-axis, y equal to 1. So this time perpendicular lines. And if you go to option D, then you can take x common from the first two terms and 1 common from the other two terms, which will give you the lines as x equal to -1 and y equal to -1. Okay, so the moment you identify that A, B, D represent pair of lines, it must be option C. So question 17, option C. Question number 18. The origin A12 and B34 are the vertices of triangle OAB. the joint equation of the altitude and the median drawn from O is, and we have 4 options with us. Now you should first know what an altitude is and what a median is. In the chapter on vectors, we know that, or we have proved rather, that the altitudes are concurrent. The point of concurrence is the orthocenter, and the medians are concurrent, and the point of their concurrence is the centroid. Okay. Now, to get the equation of the median through O, we must first find the midpoint of side AB. Okay, because if this is the triangle OAB, okay, then the median through O will be the line passing through origin and the midpoint of AB. Okay, so I have first found out the midpoint of AB by the midpoint formula. 1 plus 3 4 4 upon 2 2, 2 plus 4 6 6 upon 2 3. Okay, now we can easily find the equation of the median through O by the slope point form. Okay, y equal to 3 by 2x. So this is the second line that we want. Now let's go to the altitude. Now altitude through origin is going to be the line which is perpendicular to AB. Okay, well, you should first know that, only then you can solve the problem. And for altitude we need the slope of the altitude, and for slope of altitude we need to use the fact that product of slopes of two perpendicular lines is -1. How to find slope of line AB? y2 minus y1, 4 minus 2 2, upon x2 minus x1, 3 minus 1 2. So slope of AB is 1, and therefore slope of altitude through O will be -1, that is -1 upon 1. So from that you can get the equation of the altitude. In a similar way we got the equation of the median. Okay, and from 1 and 2 we can get the joint equation. Okay, so what I have done is, actually I have not gone for the joint equation, I have found out the sum of the slopes. Okay, excuse me, the sum of the slopes is now 3 by 2 plus -1, which is 1 upon 2. Okay, and do you know the formula for the sum of the slopes from the joint equation? Yes, that is -2h upon b. Okay, if you go to option A, then, well, in fact for options A and B, h is 7, so it is highly unlikely that you will get 3 by 2 or 1 upon 2 there. Okay, so A and B are clearly ruled out. Let's go to C now. Okay, the sum of the slopes is -2h upon b. Okay, so for option C, -2h will be 1, b is -2, so that is -1 upon 2, and this is not what we want. We want the sum to be 1 upon 2, isn't it? So it must be option D. You can check it now. Here the sign of 2h has changed. For C it was minus sign, now it is plus. So -2h will be -1 upon b is -2. Okay, so 1 upon 2, option D. Or you can actually multiply the equations and check. Okay, equation of the altitude will be x plus y equal to 0. Equation of the median is 3x minus 2y equal to 0. Okay, 3x into x, 3x squared, 3x into y, 3xy, minus 2y into x is minus 2xy, so plus xy, and minus 2y into y is y squared. Oh, sorry, not y squared, minus 2y squared. So option D. Okay, now I want to verify our result graphically, so let's do that. Okay, so the green dots that you can see on the screen are the vertices of the triangle. Okay, so let me draw the triangle first. Okay, so that blue triangle is the triangle that we want. Okay, so let me hide the labels now. Yes, now these are the 2 points. Okay, 1 2 and 3 4, and the midpoint is 2 3 that you can see in the white color or white dot. Okay, now what is the equation of the median? Y equal to 3 by 2x. Yes, that is the median through the origin. Okay, and to find the equation of the altitude, okay, we know what that equation is. It is y equal to minus x, right? Yes. Now it so happens that the altitude actually does not intersect the other side, but it will intersect the other side when the other side is extended. Okay, so if we draw the line passing through the points, yeah, the pink line, now you can see that the pink line is perpendicular to the green line, so the green line is the correct altitude. Okay, then at last the joint equation. So let me hide everything else. Yes, so the line in the first and the third quadrants is the median, and the line in the second and the fourth quadrants is the altitude. Okay, and their joint equation, as you can see, is 3x squared minus 2y squared plus 3xy minus 2xy. Okay, so plus xy equal to 0. And now you can see that it actually overlaps the violet or the orange pair of lines, right? So our equation is correct. Let's now go to question 19, a very simple question. If the lines represented by the equation px squared minus qy squared are distinct, that means they are not coincident, then, and we have a condition for pq. Okay, now we know that if the lines are distinct, then h squared minus ab is greater than 0. If h squared minus ab is equal to 0, then the lines are coincident. Okay, so in our case h is 0 because there is no xy term. A is equal to p and b is equal to minus q. Okay, so h squared minus ab will be 0 minus p into minus q. Minus p into minus q is pq. So pq greater than 0, option A. Okay, so a very simple question. See, now pq less than 0 does not make any sense because that means the lines are imaginary. So there will only be one point, that is the origin, which will satisfy that equation. Okay, and even pq equal to 0 does not make much sense because if pq is 0, then at least one of p or q should be 0. So it will represent either the y-axis or the x-axis. And if you take p plus q equal to 0, I think that is worth looking at. P plus q equal to 0, so q is minus p or minus q is p. Again, that does not make any change. Okay, if p is non-zero, then it will again be x squared plus y squared equal to 0, which will be an equation satisfied only by the origin. Okay, so correct option is A. Question number 20, the last question. If slopes of lines represented by kx squared plus 5xy plus y squared equal to 0 differ by 1, that means their difference is 1, then k is 2, 3, 6, 8. Now see, we don't have a ready-made formula for difference between the slopes. Okay, we do have for the sum and for the product, so we will take the help of this identity, which is valid for any two numbers m1 and m2. m1 and m2 bracket squared is m1 plus m2 bracket squared minus 4m1 m2. Okay, now the difference is 1, but because we don't know which one of them is the larger, let's square. Okay, so m1 minus m2 squared is 1. m1 plus m2 is minus 2h upon b. 2h is 5, b is 1, so minus 2h upon b will be minus 5, squared will be 25. Then product of the roots m1 m2, which is a by b, a is k and b is 1. Okay, so that gives us 1 equal to 25 minus 4k, which implies that 4k must be 24 or k must be equal to 6. That is option C. A very simple problem. So that is the end of MCQs on pair of straight lines. We have already uploaded, well, MCQs from previous year CET question papers, complete paper 2, that is calculus and probability, and paper 1. So please check the entire playlist for previous year's MHT CET MCQs. Thank you.